Hello, welcome to this Crypto Professor video on CRO or Crypto.com coin. Now it's been around about a month since I previously analysed CRO, Crypto.com token, and the market has continued to move in the way that I expected, i.e. down. There are a lot of people who are very bruised by this, but then Bitcoin has been ascending rapidly. Its current peak is just underneath $35,000. That was achieved earlier today. Ethereum is also climbing high, almost $1,000 at the time of the recording. So alts like Crypto.com coin are not in the headlines at the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not bullish on them long term. I'm going to show you a bit of technical analysis this time around on what I think the price is likely to do in the medium to long term, why I'm still very happy that I'm holding at least 100,000 CRO token, and why I feel that ultimately over the long run we will get the impetus in the market that we need, that isn't there at the moment, for the price to climb higher. Now, the last time I spoke, I said the price would probably come around the 5.5 cent region, and it has. It's bounced from that region. We will see that a little bit later on when we look at the charts. And I said that the price theoretically could come down to 250 Satoshi. We collapsed past 250 Satoshi just because Bitcoin climbed so fast and rapidly. It has done a spectacular movement to the upside. I'm confident that ultimately it will correct, and obviously nothing stays at its all-time high for very long. So I'm actually looking for a negative movement in Bitcoin to start to feed into altcoins like Crypto.com. So the outlook in terms of the altcoin season for Crypto.com coin looks quite rosy. They do offer a good product. They've got a little bit of trust issues at the moment with their user base, but they're working on that. They recently announced some tier changes well in advance of actually moving them, but that is still a little bit of a controversial issue, as I will inform and explain a little bit later. But at the moment we're at 182 Satoshi, which is effectively a low point for CRO against Bitcoin, but then Bitcoin has moved so spectacularly we would struggle to look at anything else. I just want to mention a couple of comments on my YouTube channel. Thank you for the recommendations. Kahoob, please do another CRO video, and Bilal, thank you very much. Yep, your comments do get read, and I do take into account recommendations, so thank you very much. This is the CRO video that I hope you wanted. Now, let's look at a couple of fundamental issues around CRO. Now, there's a lot of talk on Reddit about CRO, and generally there's a little bit of a downer on CRO at the moment just because of where the price action is. But if you look through all that and you can take everything with a little bit of a pinch of salt, there are fantastic bits of analysis going on. This from Wakasu 8 days ago identified where basically each CRO situation is, how many CRO are being released on a daily basis, which is roughly around 20 million per day of new CRO are coming onto the market in some way or another. And then obviously we have these dates, November 2022, when everything seems to happen. The next main event is the Mainnet launch on, well, I anticipate it's probably going to be sometime in February through to early March 2021 at the moment, provided the tests that they're currently starting to look at go well over the course of the next couple of months. Now, what is a mainnet? For those of you who don't know, effectively Crypto.com would run its own blockchain. Okay, so the Ethereum network is a mainnet, and the Ether token, the ERC20 token that CRO currently is an ERC20 token, which means it runs through Ethereum, okay, and has all the issues of scalability perhaps and the gas fees, which have been quite high recently with Ethereum. So by launching its own mainnet, not only does it have the ability to compete with other blockchains, but also it can scale more rapidly. It can utilize more of the network for its own use, and it obviously takes a little bit of pressure off of Ethereum. Throughout the next 5-10 years or so, as long as Ethereum continues to be operating, we will see major projects branch off like this onto their own mainnet. And in fact, Neo did recently. Neo, the Chinese version of Ethereum, as some people like to refer to it, actually moved off its ERC20 token and onto its mainnet. So that's quite a big thing for the token to do, and there are 20 billion CRO up for grabs for investors who are going to start to run nodes or general adoption of the mainnet. So that would increase the supply to around about 45 billion tokens. Then in November 2022, everything will basically get released. Another 40 billion tokens or so will get released in November 2022. And then effectively, by and large, the majority of CRO will be distributed. And we will start to get a price action which is probably less confined to strong sell-offs, because obviously we're being flooded by 20 million tokens a day at the moment, and the market's being flooded by 20 million tokens a day, and therefore that's difficult for the price to appreciate over the long term. Why the price appreciated previously was because of the fantastic offers that were available, 20% interest, for example, through the exchange, and then obviously the hype that was around Bitcoin with the halvening, causing general people to invest in cryptocurrencies, and CRO obviously was a good token for that, and the price ascended from 3 cents to 19 cents very rapidly, and that was just the euphoria of the market taking off in the cryptocurrency space, and the rapid inflation, the hyperinflation you might call it, of the token, which a lot of people are searching for. A lot of people are very happy to put quite a lot of capital in very small market cap cryptocurrencies and triple, quadruple their money, hopefully, over the course of 12 months, say. That happened to CRO. It will happen again in time. We just got to have the right market dynamics and the right situation to go at the moment. At the moment, it's mega cap cryptocurrencies, your Ethereums, your Bitcoins, that are actually taking the center stage. It would be Ripple if it wasn't for its unfortunate SEC situation. Ripple would no doubt also be, well, it did have a dramatic rally all the way up to 90 cents and then fell spectacularly as a result of those fundamental changes. But mega market caps are moving, then it will be medium market caps, and then finally, well, CRO is a medium market cap, and then finally very small market capitalization cryptocurrencies. So that's just a general overview, and if you want to dig into this a little bit more, I would definitely encourage you to. It gets a little bit tricky when you're actually looking at Etherscan at the actual transactions, because you have no idea where anything is going. I did ask Crypto.com if they could provide me with a wallet address of the current staked cryptocurrency, just to see, because staking is actually quite an important aspect of price action. Naturally, if half of the units are staked at any one time, that means only half of the market can actually be traded, but surprisingly they said no, but never mind. So let's now look at this. This is Crossfire. This is the Crypto.com chain test arena, basically, and what they're doing is they're giving 200 people the ability to test out their mainnet, and as you can see, it runs all the way through January into February, and the middle of February is when it concludes. So I'm guessing somewhere around the end of February, early March, if all goes well, we should see the mainnet launched of Crypto.com token, which should cause quite a fervor on Reddit and any other channel, and no doubt the advertising will also kick off to launch this. So this is generally considered to be a positive price action potential movement here. And as I delve into the technical analysis a little bit later, you'll see that the price doesn't really have much further to go to the south side at the moment. I'll fill you in a little bit later on what I think about that. But this is generally considered to be a good thing. Now, you can sign up for this if you wish, and complete all these different types of tasks if you're particularly cryptocurrency enthused, and they're offering quite a large sum, around $300,000 worth of CRO rewards to individuals who are willing to do that. But the important thing is they are in the final stages of testing the mainnet, and it looks like it's going to be fairly imminently launched around about the end of February into March. Now that's quite some good timing on the part, because the price action is likely to be quite volatile over the course of the next couple of months, because there are a number of fundamental things that are happening. First of all, on the 30th of January, the stake bonuses that everyone was offered when we switched from MCO, the original token, to CRO will expire. Now, not everyone did it straight away, and therefore there's not going to be too much sell pressure if people just do decide to exit, not actually remembering the fact that obviously the price is nowhere near what it was when we had that. The price was actually around about 17 cents when and it is a point of contention in the market, when the swap was offered, and obviously the price is now a good 11 cents south of that. So those bonuses are not what people perhaps wanted in terms of value, but you know, I'm not a cynic. I don't think these things have been designed deliberately to do this. Bitcoin obviously rallied and everything, and CRO has taken a little bit of a back seat. It's dropped a good 15-20 places since we were at the top of the coin market capitalization. We're now at 25, so it is kind of a little bit complicated, but yes, by and large the majority of people will probably looking to exit out of CRO at that point with their bonus and just take any money that they may have, even though it's around about 30 to 40% of the value that they originally thought it was going to be. And I'll return to that in a couple of minutes. There we go. Look, can't wait to unlock the whole £32 that's been locked in bonus. So yeah, there's quite a lot of resentment towards Crypto.com for this, and I'm just going to have a look at that. So January 30th, the estimated sell of around 100,000 tokens, and I've calculated that by going through the number of people that would have held MCO and looking at the market capitalization. So if I look at the market capitalization of MCO back when the original swap was announced, it was around about $63 million. Okay, now if I contrast that with the price of CRO at the time, which was around about 17, if I actually go to the date itself, which is the August 2nd, 17.5 cents. Okay, so if you do the math behind that and divide the total market cap by the amount of CRO that theoretically you could get if everyone sold, you'd have around about 100,000 tokens or so. Okay, so if everyone were to sell systematically at one point, you would get 0.5 of the current market cap sold. But obviously not everyone could sell at the same time because it was open for a window of opportunity. It was open for around 3 months until November. So you necessarily won't get everyone selling at the same time because people had to have thinking time and they had to decide whether they wanted to do it. A lot of people were doing it on exchanges and getting a little bit of a bonus, a risky bonus, by doing it that way and not using the MCO swap bonus. But I've estimated roughly around about 100 million bonus tokens would be sold if everyone could out of their bonus. Now, what would that mean if they were to sell? Well, the price would dip slightly. It wouldn't dip hugely, but it would dip ever so slightly. And we'll see a little bit later on that there's not much really room for maneuver to the downside for CRO at the moment. Now, what may be slightly more dramatic is the exit of staking from the exchange, because obviously the goalposts have changed. You used to be able to get 20%, etc. It's now only 10% for staking on the exchange. And obviously the price action has completely disintegrated, and CRO to external agencies might not look as bullish as it once did. There was a point when the majority of people felt that there was never going to be a pullback for CRO, much like they feel there's never going to be a pullback for Bitcoin at the moment. But there always is a pullback of sorts. So the exit of staking from the exchange may be worse than this. If the average user staking 10,000 tokens, which I've calculated by looking at the number of people involved in the syndicate, the biggest syndicate was actually this one back in July, where we had 140 million CRO and we had 15,322 subscribers. The average amount was actually 8,000, but if you average this, it's roughly around about 10,000 the average user has staked on the network. And obviously thank you very much to Harold Fonda for doing this. Excellent analysis and research, thank you. I'm going to I'll mention you, so I'm not plagiarizing, but I'm going to use it to explain a couple of points. But if you work out the average number of users which is a height of around about 15,000 or so, and you assume a worst case scenario from those, you're able to roughly calculate that there would be around about 150 million tokens sold. Again, if everyone exited the exchange. So in total, we're looking at 250 million tokens, or roughly around about 2.5% of the market in CRO tokens, but only 1% or so of the market cap. So if everyone decided to exit, everyone decided to sell, we would dip around a small degree to 1% of the market cap. So not necessarily a bearish signal, because I doubt that the majority of people would decide to sell, but certainly not bullish, because there will be some people here, like they have exited and made a demonstration of it over the past couple of months, that will just want to get out of the CRO ecosystem and will just take whatever money they can get. So worst case scenario, 250 million tokens sold, which should help with liquidity, but then the price would dip, and I'm guessing it would be automatically recovered at some point. So let's actually turn to the price action now and actually look at what we're looking at. So this blue line here represents what I believe is a bottom, a long-term bottom. If we break this, then we are going into very, very difficult territory for a very long time. So I'm actually hoping we don't break this. This goes all the way back to March in 2020, and then even before then, November 2019. So this is a very, very long-term trend. Okay. Now these boxes that I have here are the announcements, the changes in staking from crypto.com. Okay. Now the first one, we had about a 2-week window, roughly. Well, actually no, we didn't. We had a 7-day window to decide whether to take our stake of 100,000 up to 250,000 for the highest consumer tier, I suppose I'll call it, which is the icy white or rose gold tier. Okay, notice on the announcement the price jumped as people obviously decided what they were doing and decided they wanted to have this opportunity to own their card for a stake that was relatively relatively minor at the time, and then we just sold off, because what they do is effectively, when they raise the stakes, is cause inflation. Okay, the asset actually inflates, because on a per unit price you're actually able to get less value per unit of the cryptocurrency, and that is the definition of inflation. This time around things were a little bit less direct. We were informed on the 18th of December that the card tiers were doubling effectively, from 5,000 to 10,000 for the lowest tier, and 250,000 to 500,000 for the highest tier. And that ends on the 18th of January. Okay, so quite an undecided, quite a flat market here. Okay, I'm guessing the majority of people have probably decided what they want out of it and either already have upgraded. Notice we had a similar little spike here, more protracted than the last time, and obviously had a corresponding sell-off. We then had this movement here on the 1st and 2nd of January, maybe payday related, who knows, where the price went all the way up to 7.5 cents and then immediately basically collapsed down again, and now we're in this oscillation region where we're just hovering above this blue line. If we break this and we see 2 days underneath it, 2 closes underneath it, then I'll be much more bearish long term on CRO. But until that happens, at the moment we're showing a lot of resistance to going lower, a lot of support for going higher, then all the better for it. So I believe that at least in terms of USD, we have bottomed around here for the long time. And notice how, if I zoom out slightly, this curve just gets less and less steep as we go down here, almost to a straight line now. Okay, so I'm hoping that with the various developments that happen over the course of the next couple of months, this will start to trend up. We'll get all the moving averages that I'll mention in a second starting to reverse, and we will start to see a return to something that resembles bullishness for CRO. Okay, so that's the long-term trend line, and obviously if we look at that on a larger time frame, we see how powerful that trend actually is. I think that this is the amount of CRO in cold storage. underneath this chart here. I think that this represents the number of people staking their CRO tokens, which is only going to get higher because obviously they're increasing the tiers. So that's one bullish thing that you can take away from the increased staking amount. As long as the adoption is maintained or increased via marketing, via more people be interested in cryptocurrency, then the better it will be for CRO long term. So I think this is the ultimate kind of line in the sand for the number of people who are staking. Now, naturally, obviously, I've just mentioned the fact that people may end their stake, especially on the exchange. The card tiers will be a little less dramatic, I think. I believe that people mainly enjoy the card tiers, although they have also upset everyone recently by limiting certain purchases for nefarious reasons. But that's another story entirely. If you'd like more on that, just look at the Reddit website to see the complaints that are going on about that and the highly irregular reasons sometimes that they are providing for not giving cashback on certain things. But that's I'm going off on a discretion there. So let's look at the moving averages. Now, this is a fairly sophisticated moving average technique that I'm using. Okay, it comes from a book called The Tao of Trading by Simon Rhee, which I'm currently enjoying. It does delve more into options trading towards the end, but in a chapter fairly in the middle of the book, he discusses moving averages. Now, these are the majority moving averages, and you'll notice that the times are actually based on Fibonacci ratios. Okay, so all these numbers here are Fibonacci apart from 100 and 200, obviously. So what we can see is the price dramatically increased and hit this, the purple line, which is the 89-day EMA. It then sold off, and we're starting to see a convergence and a crossing over of the smaller time frames. So the 8-day is crossing over the 21, and the 21 looks like it should cross over the 34 shortly. Okay, so this is bullish. Okay, this is a bullish tendency. These moving averages are starting to coalesce. They're starting to cross over. Okay, I'm looking for a cross of the 55 over the 89, or even better still, the 55 across the 100 or 200. Okay, now notice we're quite far away from that at the moment. Okay, the price has got to continue down for quite some time, which is why I think the window opportunity we have between now and the mainnet launch, which is probably around the end of February, early March, is actually the perfect tendency for these to start coalescing together and actually have quite a big, nice, bullish movement supported by the techs around the same time as the fundamental change of the mainnet launch. Notice at the moment we are bouncing off this, the 55-day EMA right now with this wick at the moment. This is a day chart at the moment. So we are fighting to get higher at the moment, and obviously this is quite a large purchase that was unsubstantiated, but we have got quite a lot of well, this is bullish engulfing here. If we close today, and notice we've only just started effectively, but if we do close today with this being anywhere near the 55-day EMA, so around about the 7 cent region, then that is a very, very bullish indicator and kind of indicates that all this indecision around here has now been settled and we are moving off bullishly. Okay, so these are the EMAs. You can also use SMAs. Now these are simple moving averages. Okay, the EMAs weight the data towards the most recent price action. Okay, so they discount further price action. So this 200-day, only the last 10 to 20 to 30 days are factored in as the most important. The other days do count, but they're not as important. The SMAs treat every single day equally. Okay, and what you'll notice is we are at a point of definite inflection. Okay, we have come down. This is a very, very long time frame. This is the 500-day moving average. Okay, so this moves extremely slowly. And this is the 400-day moving average. Okay, so if these intersect and cross, that could be a very powerful indicator. I'm hoping, as a investor in CRO, that they don't cross over, because that would be extremely bearish. I'm not sure how much further the price can drop, but never hold your breath with crypto. Okay, and these are also crossing as well, so I'm hoping that they're going to ricochet off here and we're going to get a follow through which doesn't have these technicals crossing over. Okay, so if I zoom in slightly, yeah, we're kind of at the point. And notice how once again this wick crossed over. We did get a breakout of the 500-day EMA here, but it obviously corrected very dramatically, and that was back when the tiers were announced as changing. Okay, so obviously short-term people just buying in there, getting their CRO that they wanted, and upgrading their card tiers, because naturally the cards have a backlog when everyone tries to upgrade at the same time, so people want to make sure that they get in early. Okay, so these are SMAs. Again, I'd like to see these trending upwards, at least on the shorter time frame, and notice they are curling round at the moment. We've got plenty of curling there. These longer term time frames take with a pinch of salt, especially with cryptocurrency. 500 days is a long time for a crypto project. In actual fact, I don't think CRO has been in existence for 500 days. It must be, because it's able to calculate, but it should have only just started around about 500 days ago. So yeah, cryptocurrency and long-term moving averages take with a pinch of salt. Short-term, yeah, definitely we are looking bullish in the short term, and we should start to see the price appreciate. So let's do some general indicator trading on the price as it currently stands. Notice if the price started to ascend dramatically, we would very comfortably start to include a new all-time high. So at the moment, the first major area of resistance long term that I can detect is this channel here, and we're up at around 17 cents or so. So back where we were when the swap was originally announced. Then breaking higher still. If we were still in this channel, if fundamentals hadn't changed, for example, and we hadn't had a drop in interest, etc., then we would be looking at a high price of around about 23 cents at the moment. So in terms of adoption long term, the price action should theoretically give us a new all-time high relatively soon. I'm guessing sometime within 2021, providing all things go well with the mainnet and the adoption continues as unabated as possible. Now, there is one thing to caveat this with, and that is inflation. Okay, now inflation drives the price of cryptocurrency, and I mentioned the card stakes and the card tiers just now, and this is just an indication of what's happening. So back on the 2nd of November, the card tiers were raised by 150% to these tiers here. Okay, and the market did sell off dramatically. Remember, I showed you a chart where there were boxes, and those boxes indicated what we're actually going to the price action following those announcements. Notice this time it's a lot less bearish. Okay, so either the markets got weary of the announcement, or people have factored it into their calculations and decided this is the last time that CDC can raise the stakes. And don't forget, we did get a flash warning of this on the 2nd, because they did raise the stake to the maximum, which is currently what they're raising it to now, and then reverted that decision 24 hours later. So we were kind of pre-warned, so there might be less of a shock factor with this increase than the last one. And obviously, you know, this is the 2nd time they've done it, so therefore it's less of a surprise element to the trading. So let's just work out the inflation. Now, this is a very crude way of working out the inflation for a cryptocurrency, because naturally you can't use the normal way of working the inflation rate out, which compares the CPI or consumer price index, because there is no consumer price index. That'd be like comparing the taste of cheese with the sale of TVs. It just wouldn't make sense. Okay, so what I've done here is I have compared the interest rate. The interest rate is a calculation based on the number of new coins distributed over the year. Okay, and what I've done is I've done the Bitcoin interest rate and contrasted it with the CRO interest rate. So there are actually 7.3 billion new CRO distributed in the market every year. Whether from that's just from the CDC side of things. So that's new tokens being generated each day, as indicated on that crypto.com post that I spoke about earlier. This one. Okay, so that's taking into account just these withdrawals from these multi-sig wallets, basically. Okay, the actual number is probably a lot higher than that, just because we don't know what's going to happen with these 20 billion tokens all at once in November 2022. So effectively what I'm saying is the inflation rate is quite high for CRO. I've taken a rule of thumb that the doubling the staking requirements will probably result in doubling this interest rates. The current interest rate is 15% per annum. Okay, we've only done one doubling. Actually, in fact, we did 150% of the staking requirement, but I'm just going to use a rough rule of thumb. So the inflation rates after the second doubling will probably be around about 20%. Okay, and that means that the price might take a small short-term dip, because the benefit, or the purchasing power, if you like, per unit of the cryptocurrency is getting weakened. Okay, and that weakness will take time to be remedied, okay, by the price action. So 7.3 billion tokens, 100 billion tokens in total. That means the interest rate is 7.3% per annum. Contrast this with Bitcoin. They're on about 900 Bitcoin mined per day at the moment. That's 328,500 over the course of the year, divided by the total supply. I'm using the arithmetic total supply is 0.0156% per annum. So basically nothing. Okay, so CRO inflation is around 1,000 times bigger than BTC inflation. Okay, and that will be the case until all the tokens have been distributed into the market. So at some point in maybe 2023, 2024, the interest rate will dramatically drop. And I'm also not mentioning the interest with the actual token itself. So 20%, 10%, etc. in the crypto earn, or the 12% that you're able to earn on the card. That is also another factor in this as well, because obviously they have to release a certain amount of CRO completely for free every week as people get their rewards. So effectively what I'm reading at the moment is kind of the opposite of what is happening in the market. BTC is unattractive to a new investor. It's expensive, it's technologically dated, slow transaction speeds, etc. I know they're working on the Lightning Network, etc. But it does have first mover advantage, and it has trust. So the number of people and companies coming out at the moment and claiming that Bitcoin is the next best thing in terms of a digital asset, and even some comparing it superseding gold even, okay, that's given it a public level of trust, and that's why people are very willing to buy it at the moment, and that's why the price has been increasing, along with institutional adoption. And I did post a video about that recently on my YouTube channel on BTC and its adoption and the psychology behind the adoption. Whereas CRO on paper is attractive as it's cheap and therefore offers quite a high level of deflation, where the price will increase dramatically and maybe double or triple your capital very, very quickly. It offers various perks, which I've discussed at length on the Crypto.com website, including free money, so the syndicate, the CRO rewards, the Crypto.com earn, etc., etc. But it is relatively centralized. Crypto.com obviously own the majority of it and can behave almost like a security with Crypto.com. So, for example, when they raise the staking tiers, the price drops because the level of inflation increases. And there is a lot of distrust, according to the Reddit website, where if you read, there are a lot of disgruntled individuals very unhappy that they bought CRO at the moment and wishing they had bought BTC. Hindsight trading, as I like to call it. But this is not a game that ends. This is an infinite game, effectively. And who knows, maybe in 2-3 years' time, Bitcoin will have a dramatic sell-off because of the technology, and CRO will climb dramatically and, do a ripple, effectively, where the price reaches the upper echelons of what people are looking for. Maybe, $1 to $2, effectively. So that is effectively what I'm looking at. I also want to have a look at Crypto.com and BTC, because if you think the price is bad for dollars, look at the price against BTC. Now, effectively, what it's going to take for BTC and the CRO token to look more attractive is a dramatic drop for BTC. Okay, and until that happens, CRO is unlikely to make any kind of headway with that respect. Notice here we are starting a nice green candle which supports my analysis, and I'm guessing off the top of my head, because I haven't looked at the Bitcoin price, that Bitcoin price has dropped a little bit to cause this uptick in the price. I'll check that a little bit later towards the end of this video. But this is a very messy chart. I apologize. I'm trying to demonstrate several things at once. This information here doesn't really give us anything. The RSI, yes, is low, but you can just look at that from the chart. We are starting with this. Interestingly, when I plotted this out earlier before I recorded the video, this was nowhere near crossing over, and it now is. So this movement that we've just seen is actually an indication that things are starting to turn around. So we have crossed over into nice territory for the RSI as well from this last previous action. So this candle that has just formed is actually maybe the start of something more significant. And if I go down to a 4-hour chart, I can actually look and see at the cloud. Bear with me a second. Yeah, okay. So this is an indication of sentiment. It's called an Ichimoku cloud, okay? And if it's red, generally the price is trending down. If it's green, generally the price is trending up. So notice what's happened here. We've actually had 2 major wicks, okay? We've touched this area here, and now we're starting to ascend. And notice on a 4-hour chart, we are starting to get a crossover into something resembling green territory. And this is against Bitcoin, don't forget. Okay, so this is actually more bullish long term, because if we're getting green candles and green trading signals from Bitcoin, then the US dollar will naturally follow suit, just because the US dollar is devaluing like crazy at the moment, because the US Federal Reserve are just printing more money indefinitely. So we've had a nice big 4-hour wick here. We've crossed over. Notice MACD as well has actually crossed over, and the RSI is also on an uptick, and we've got a relatively strong 29 on the trend. Okay, so that's nice and healthy. On a day chart, we haven't really done much yet. We've got a 66, but that's taking into account the downward trend here, so we're still relatively strong here. We need to see a crossover of this red and green line to indicate anything resembling bullishness. And interestingly, if I just have a look here, yeah, we are looking at these in terms of where we're stopping, and I'll talk to these a little bit in a bit recently with the dollar in a second. We're bouncing off the average, which is a 21-day EMA. So that movement that we just saw in Bitcoin is actually bouncing off the 21-day EMA now, which is quite bullish. Okay, so that's a good indication that things might be on the turnaround, and we might be bouncing from a low of 170 Satoshi, which, you know, it doesn't take a genius to work out that theoretically we can't really go much further down than 170 Satoshi, although some people may disagree with me on that. So let's look at this chart again. Okay, so this is the these are a type of instrument which demonstrates where you should enter your trades. Okay, and they are particularly good at telling you when a trend may start. Okay, another tool that I picked up from the work of Simon Rhee in the Tao of Trading. Okay, and it's a really good investment tool. It basically works on the 21-day EMA and then multiplying a various unit either side of that. So 1, 2, and 3. 1 times, 2 times, and 3 times either side. If your price action is within the 1, then that's a good entry point for trading. Okay, so if you have a trade hypothesis and you want to seek an entry, then buying it or selling it, depending on what your trade hypothesis is, within this window is a good idea, and then setting your take profits at various levels here. So, you know, if I had a short on right now, I might say, well, I'm going to take profit at 5 cents, for example, or I'm going to take profit at 4.5 cents, or even if I'm feeling really, you know, confident of my short, I will say, right, I'm going to take all my profit at 3 cents or 3.3 cents. Okay. Similarly, if I was looking to be bullish, this is just to hit my profit target here. So that's 7 cents. Okay, so that's why if I say 7 cents is holding, then I will say, well, take profit at 8 cents and obviously at around about 9 cents ultimately long term to take a benefit. But obviously this is very short-term trading. Okay, this is for people who are looking at the charts on a daily basis and are entering and exiting the market on a fairly short-term basis. Naturally, it doesn't particularly help for people who bought a lot higher, maybe up here. Okay, and yeah, so I'm just looking up the name of this because I've actually mislaid where I've actually put the name of this trading tool. Hang on a second, I know what I can do. Keltner channels. Okay, so these are Keltner channels, and they help identify good areas of entry and exit for volatile assets. Okay, so what do I think? Well, I think that CRO token is currently very, very undervalued. I bought on mine much higher than where we are now, and I'm happy that I'm holding them because I do have long-term faith in the Crypto.com project. However, there are a number of things at the moment that are influencing the market, okay, and it's quite a choppy set of conditions. We have the bearish sentiments, which are the people exiting out of CDC because they're dissatisfied with the service or they're dissatisfied with the decisions that are made. They may exit out of the exchange, they may exit out of the staking, and I've kind of isolated or tried to work out how much of that is going to be a problem for the people left remaining. We still have over 5 million users, and no doubt there'll be an update soon about the number of people who are coming on board to the Crypto.com ecosystem. But the majority of individuals are staking their cryptocurrency. We have no data on how many people are staking it, but you can assume it's a lot. I know from all nodes that there are 92 nodes running on Crypto.com chain or Crypto.com coin, and they have 500,000 CRO each. So effectively there are, you know, a good number of 40 or so million tokens running that chain. Okay, and these are actually fairly stable, and notice they're only getting 2% ROI. So they're in it largely. I suspect that some of these are actually behind the scenes of Crypto.com itself and are actually running on that. Okay. We also have the bullish indicators, okay, where the price is likely to increase, okay, and I've kind of alluded to those through the technical analysis that I've done, indicating the trends where I think the price could ultimately ascend to a new all-time high, given enough bullishness. I think the price is starting to tail off a little bit, and the descent, you know, selling down here is nowhere near as a gut decision as maybe selling up here. Okay, so we've seen, I believe, the majority of bearish action for Crypto.com token. I think that we'll now start to see a resurgence of movements, and I think that the idea of buying Crypto.com down here is actually a very good one, and you should be able to profit from it in a relatively short space of time. Thank you very much for listening to my video. I hope you are well, and I hope that you can benefit from the advice I've given. If you have any recommendations or anything else you'd like to see me review, please leave a comment. And if you have any questions, also please leave a comment and a suggestion for feedback in the comments. As always, happy trading. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to get $25 of CRO completely for free, please sign up to Crypto.com using our referral link in the description on this video. We also get $25 of CRO to keep this channel operating. The Crypto Professor likes feedback. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it. If you'd like more of the same, please don't forget to subscribe. Or if you have questions, please post them in the comments and I'll endeavour to answer them for you. Thanks for watching.